Goodleburg Cemetery is a lot-sized cemetery located in the town of Wales. There's a Revolutionary War soldier here. There's also a Civil War soldier here by the name of John Tanner. Okay. The cemetery itself is at least 187 years old and houses over 100 burials, even though very few actual stones remain due to the ravages of time and the random acts of thoughtless vandals. The cemetery, established in 1811, is deceptively small, bordered in the front by a stone wall and some trees. The surrounding valleys make it seem bigger than it really is. There are a lot of risks inherent with investigating Goodleburg Cemetery, especially at night. On June 21st, 2003, a paranormal investigator was killed on the road when a speeding car came by and hit him. The initial blame was someone driving under the influence, but actually the main blame of the whole thing was based on the fact that they were actually investigating there in the dark in the first place. The person was subsequently hit and killed, which brings us to why we're investigating here in the daytime. We're doing that for a lot of reasons. One, of course, for safety purposes, and two, the police here are very protective, as well they should be, about Goodleburg Cemetery, because vandals show up, they kick over stones, they have parties, they start fires, they do drugs, they do all kind of stuff, all kind of horrible stuff like that. Well, we're going to be out here in the daytime so we can conduct a thorough daytime investigation. Now, it's a new wrinkle we're actually adding to the Western Door Paranormal Investigations for this reason here. It's my belief that if a place has activity, it's going to have activity, whether it's day or night. We've been to many places and seen things right in the broad day. So we're going to be doing some photography, some EVP work, and we're going to also be using an EMF detector instead of a K2 meter. Now, it's a nice day out, there's kind of a breeze, so that's going to take any cold spots out of the whole thing. But this is a new twist. Now, hopefully, other paranormal investigators will pick up on the idea that you don't have to be out somewhere in the dark, and you don't have to risk getting your car towed, ticketed, or getting kicked out by the police. Cemetery, with his reputation, has been a hotspot for partiers and cultists who conduct black masses. During some investigations, WDP found all kinds of paraphernalia on the grounds, including beer bottles, syringes, empty drug bottles, and pentagrams. It's time to dispel myths about Goodleburg Cemetery, starting with the road itself. Another nickname for the area is Hill of Ghouls. This is because the name Goodleburg translates roughly from German to Hill of the Ghouls. Berg, meaning hill, and ghoul is an English version of the Arabic word meaning ghoul. In reality, Goodle is a family name, and a woman with the last name Goodle is buried in the cemetery. Another rumor associated with Goodleburg Cemetery was that it's an ancient burial ground. While it's true that the Indians would have their village or whatever the case is on a hill near a water source, there's never been uncovering of any Indian artifacts or any graves or anything to support this rumor. The biggest rumor of all when it comes to Goodleburg Cemetery is the abortion doctor, or Dr. Goodleburg. The story's time frame varies from the 1800s to the 1940s. The story goes that Dr. Goodleburg was an abortion doctor who did his trade illegally from his home. This resulted in a lot of botched abortions. Legend has it that he would bury the fetuses in shallow graves in the cemetery. He would also dispose of the remains of the women who didn't survive the procedure in shallow graves on the property and in the pond to the rear. Then, as animals began to dig up the remains, Dr. Goodleburg hung himself from a tree in the cemetery. In fact, however, there never was a Dr. Goodleburg. The closest thing we have is a Dr. Albert Speaker who lived down the lane on Hunters Creek Road. Now, he did perform the occasional abortions from his home, but there was never any record of any botched abortions or any women thrown in the pond that didn't survive any of his abortions attempts. Dr. Albert Speaker actually was a medical examiner in the village of Buffalo. Also, he never hung himself in Goodleburg Cemetery, as a lot of people might think. Actually, Dr. Albert Speaker died of a heart attack. The one thing that is odd about Dr. Albert Speaker, though, was when he passed away, someone did set fire to his house, and no one is exactly sure why, and the house actually survived the fire attempt. On August 25, 1945, Helen Lindman, wife of a dentist in Kenmore, New York, vanished. In October of the same year, her body parts were found scattered, her torso in Ishua, her head in Kneeville, and her forearm and kneecap on Hunters Creek Road. Again, the following spring, a man's body was found in a ravine. It is believed he died. There is also tales of Dr. Albert Speaker being tied with the mafia. Now, burials in this cemetery continued until 1946. It's not exactly a great spot for anyone related to the mob to take victims out and actually bury in this cemetery that it was this wide open. So I think common sense pretty much dispels that rumor, because the rumor picked up that there was a lot of mafia people would bring their victims out here, they would kill them or murder them out by the pond, maybe throw them in the pond or bury them in this cemetery. So the way we're looking at the cemetery and where the houses are and the time frame, there really doesn't seem to be much credence to that story. Another legend is the Goodleburg curse. It states that if you defile the land or graves in the cemetery or take items from there, bad luck or death may follow you. Now, the reports of paranormal activity from Goodleburg Cemetery kind of make it unique to the cemetery itself. There are some say that a house made of phantom ectoplasm can be seen on the cemetery. There are others that actually say Native Americans are seen darting to and fro in the cemetery. There's also reports of hellhounds in the cemetery, and a lady in white is supposedly seen going up and down the cemetery road, even in daytime. Other apparitions related to the cemetery are a workman who seems to be walking with someone who's dressed a little more, let's just say, for the town. There's also, sometimes you can hear music boxes playing. Phantom fetuses have supposedly been seen in the cemetery. Also, it is said that fog will not enter Goodleburg Cemetery. I've actually known someone that has actually experienced this, that came out here and seen that there was fog everywhere, but not in the cemetery. Also, supposedly, that if you leave your car, people, when you come back, little fetus handprints will be all over and footprints will be all over the cars. Supposedly, the fetuses that were buried here, allegedly buried here, will make their presence known on your vehicle. Well, with the serious lack of evidence of baby fetuses, I'm not sure exactly how that works. There's reports of cold spots, people screaming. There's also a crazy lady that used to live down by the bridge, which is out. They used to actually take shots at you, which put a whole new level of danger to the cemetery. So what we're going to do is see if we can actually pick up on any of this stuff that's rumored to happen here. A more ominous entity linked to Goodleburg Cemetery is the hellhound. Their eyes are said to glow evil yellow and take the shape of a large black dog. They travel alone or in packs and are also known as Borgeists. They are seen as a portent of death or bad luck. Legend has it that these hellhounds became as such by digging up discarded bodies and ingesting them, hence becoming forever cursed. A hellhound tale from Goodleburg involved a couple driving up the road and hitting a large black dog. Upon getting out of the car to investigate, the dog was gone, like it was never there.